Hey Gators, it's Miss McConnell, and today I'm starting a new series, and it's based on the book Amelia to Zora. I have some friends helping me read 26 Women Who Changed the World. This book is by CYNTHIA Chin-LEE, and it's illustrated by Megan, Halsey, and Sean Addy. So, 26 Women Who Changed the World, Amelia to Zora. We're going over a few days to cover all 26 women. A is for Amelia. She's a celebrated pilot and adventurer. When she was 7, Amelia Earhart, her sister, and a neighbor built a roller coaster. They made the tracks from fence rails, propped on a tool shed roof, and the cab from a wood packing box attached to roller skate wheels. Amelia took the first ride on the homemade coaster, which was so steep she somersaulted head over heels when the cab hit the ground. Later, at age 23, she was struck with flying fever after going to an air show. Amelia worked several jobs so she could afford flying lessons. On her 24th birthday, Amelia bought her own plane. Amelia set many records. She was the first woman to fly solo across the United States. She was the first person to fly alone from Hawaii to California. In 1937, the now world-famous Amelia and her navigator attempted to fly around the world. They had made 3/4 of the almost 30,000-mile journey when they disappeared over the Pacific Ocean. Amelia Earhart, from 1897 to 1937, is quoted as saying, "Women must try to do things as men have tried. When they fail, their failure must be but a challenge to others." Our next is B is for Babe. Olympic athlete extraordinaire. As a kid, Mildred Didrikson Zaharias earned the nickname Babe after a baseball great, Babe Ruth, because of all the softballs she whacked out of the park. From softball, she moved on to basketball, in which she helped her high school team gain the national championship. Babe won more medals and set more records than any athlete of her time, man or woman. She excelled in many different sports, including diving, tennis, track and field, and golf. Babe won so many events in so many sports that when she entered the 1932 Olympics, she was allowed to participate in only 3 events. She won gold medals in javelin and the 80-meter hurdles. Babe was denied the gold medal in the high jump because the judges objected to her technique of hurling herself head first over the pole, now a standard practice. Later, she took up golf and won 17 straight amateur tournaments, a record that still stands. Babe Didrikson Zaharias, from 1914 to 1956, is quoted as saying, "It's not enough to just swing at the ball. You've got to loosen your girdle and really let her fly." Our next famous woman is C is for Cecilia, astronomer and the first woman professor at Harvard University, Cecilia Payne Gaposchkin, was stargazing with her mother when she saw a meteor blaze across the sky. She decided then, at age 5, to become an astronomer. After graduating from Cambridge University in England, she moved to the United States to find a job in astronomy research. Cecilia worked at the Harvard Observatory and received the first doctorate degree in astronomy that the university awarded. As a woman, she faced low wages and slow advancement, but her persistence, intelligence, and hard work were eventually rewarded. In 1956, Cecilia became the first woman professor at Harvard University, as well as the first woman to be a department chair. She's the author of 8 major books on astronomy, and she called the stars her friends. Cecilia Payne Gaposchkin, from 1900 to 1980. She's quoted as saying, "Do not undertake a scientific career in quest of fame or money. There are easier and better ways to reach them. Undertake it only if nothing else will satisfy you." And D is for Dolores, co-founder of the United farm workers, or UFW. At age 14, Dolores Huerta helped her family by working an after-school job in the packing sheds of Stockton, California, the first in her family to attend college. Dolores left her job as a teacher because she felt she could help her students more by helping their parents who were struggling farm workers. Quick-witted and fiery, Dolores helped organize a strike of workers to protest low wages. If she found workers were ready to give up and go to work, she blocked their cars with her truck or hid their car keys. To make sure the strike was successful, along with Cesar Chavez, Dolores helped organize the UFW boycott against California growers of lettuce and table grapes. They protested the low pay and the unhealthy conditions that the farm workers faced at work. After the successful boycott, she negotiated the union's first contract with the growers. Beaten by union busters, arrested more than 20 times, Dolores also fights for the rights of women and all Latinos in the United States. She's still alive. She was born in 1930. Dolores Huerta. Sí se puede. Yes, we can. So I'm going to pass this book on to a friend, and they're going to pick up with the next letter. Have a great night, Gators.
Hi, everybody. It's Mrs. Cole. I'm picking up where Miss McConnell left off at the letter E. E is for Eleanor, First Lady and political leader. Born into a wealthy family, Anna Eleanor Roosevelt lived a privileged life, but she also faced many hardships. Both her parents died before she was 10, so Eleanor lived with her grandmother until she graduated from school. She did social work in New York City, helping poor immigrants and speaking up for workers' rights. During this time, Eleanor became friends with her fifth cousin, Franklin Roosevelt, whom she later married. In 1933, Eleanor's husband was elected president. In her role as First Lady, Eleanor fought for the rights of poor on farms and in cities. Eleanor had amazing energy at home and in her career. She raised 5 children. Woo, way to go. Owned and taught at a private school for girls, ran emergency programs for the Red Cross, and visited U.S. soldiers all over the world. At age 61, Eleanor became the first U.S. representative to the United Nations, and she spent the rest of her life promoting peace. This quote just says, you gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. Let's move on to the letter F. See if I can get this right here. I never get my camera right with my pages. Let's go this way. All right. F is for Frida. Painter and folklorist, Frida Kahlo, Mexico's most famous woman artist, was a free-spirited and naughty child. She often got into trouble with her strict mother, but was the favorite of her father, a photographer. When Frida was 6, she was stricken with polio, which made her right leg stop growing. To strengthen herself, she played what were then considered boys' sports: soccer, wrestling, and boxing. At age 18, Frida was almost killed in a serious bus accident. During her long recovery from this accident, Frida began to paint. She showed her paintings to Mexico's most famous painter, Diego Rivera. Later, they were married. Both Frida's marriage and health had their ups and downs, but through her suffering, she painted with humor and imagination. In addition to canvas, she painted on surfaces like copper, tin, and wood. She taught art to students in Mexico City, encouraging them to draw and paint everyday things such as jars, furniture, and toys. And this quote by Frida down at the bottom: the only thing I know is that I paint because I need to, and I paint always whatever passes through my head without any other consideration. I'm gonna flip it here. Here we go. G is for Grace. Inventor and computer pioneer. At age 7, curious Grace Hopper took apart several alarm clocks to figure out how they worked. Later, she became the first woman to earn a doctorate degree in mathematics at Yale University. She helped make a UNIVAC, the first all-purpose computer. She Then she invented the first computer compiler, a program that translates words into codes that can be understood by computers. Grace co-created the computer language COBOL, C-O-B-O-L, one of the first computer languages used for business and still used today. Grace popularized the term computer bug after her assistants found a moth stuck in a room-sized computer called the Mark I. They plucked the moth out and pasted it in a notebook, writing, "First actual case of a bug being found." And the quote at the bottom says, "Humans are allergic to change. They love to say, 'We've always done it that way.' I try to fight that. That's why I have a clock on my wall that runs counterclockwise." And the last one I'll be reading for you today is the letter H. H is for Helen, writer, speaker, and advocate for women and people with disabilities. When Helen Keller was 6, a young teacher named Anne Sullivan came to teach her. Until then, the blind and deaf Helen threw wild tantrums to get her way, but thanks to Anne's loving persistence, Helen began to learn. First, she learned sign language, and then she learned to read Braille, which she mastered in 5 languages. Although public speaking terrified her, Helen overcame her fears so she could speak out for causes such as the women's right to vote, just working conditions for the poor, and international peace. With the help of her teacher, Anne, Helen was able to graduate with honors from Radcliffe College, part of Harvard University. She wrote several best-selling books and championed the rights of women, the disabled, and minorities. And her quote at the bottom says, "I thank God for my handicaps, for through them I have found myself, my work, and my God." It was so nice reading for you today, Gators. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Gators. How are you? I am Mrs. Rawls, and I am so excited to be reading with you this morning. I will be reading Amelia to Zora. That is about 26 women who changed the world. I will be reading I, J, K, and L. So stay with me on this journey to find out about these 4 amazing women. I will read the page first, and then I'll show you the picture. I is for Imogen, a photographer of people and plants. While in high school, Imogen Cunningham saw a show of Gertrude K. Spears' photos, which so enchanted her that she decided to become a photographer. Imogen's father built a dark room and a woodshed for her. Then Imogen sent away for a camera and how to book and began photographing. After college, Imogen worked in a photographer's studio and eventually opened her own portrait studio. Imogen loved taking pictures of people and felt that the key to making a portrait was understanding the person being photographed. Besides portrait photography, Imogen became famous for her plant photography. She turned to plants because, as a mother of 3 sons, she could photograph them quickly between chasing her boys around. The forthright and funny Imogen spent more than 70 years in photography, working into her 90s. And here is the page for Imogen Cunningham. J is for Jane, chimpanzee expert and scientific naturalist. One night when Jane Goodall was little, her family couldn't find her and called the police. Jane had snuck into the farm's henhouse to watch the chickens. She said, "Where is the hole big enough for the eggs to come out of?" After reading stories about Africa, Jane dreamed of going there to live with wild animals. Years later, she sailed to Africa and worked with anthropologist Louis Leakey. At his suggestion, Jane began her famous studies of chimpanzees. She watched a chimp who poked a termite mound for food by using a wig. Her discovery that animals and not just humans could use tools changed the current thinking in animal studies. not content to simply study and number her chimpanzees. Jane named each chimp and described their personalities and relationships. We have a choice to use the gift of our life to make the world a better place or not to bother. And here is the page for Jane Goodall and both Imogen Cunningham. K is for Christy, Olympic gold medalist and professional skater. Born with deformed feet, Christy Yamaguchi had to wear corrective shoes and braces on her legs as a toddler. Attracted by the grace and beauty of ice skating, 6-year-old Christy begged her parents for skating lessons. In her first competition, she placed 12th out of 13. Undaunted, Christy persuaded her parents of her commitment and continued her lessons, practicing 3 to 4 hours a day, 6 days a week. In 1989, with pairs partner Rudy Galindo, Christy won a gold medal in the National Pairs Skating Competition. In 1991, she won the World Singles Championship. And in 1992, she won the gold medal at the Winter Olympics. Now a professional skater, Christy has started the Always Dream Foundation, which strives to make a positive difference in children's lives. A quote by Christy: "When I am skating, I feel like I can do anything. I feel like I can stay out there forever." And here is the page, for Christy. And finally, L is for Lena, entertainer and civil rights activist. Lena Horne had a difficult childhood. Her home life was unstable, so Lena often lived with relatives. At 16, Lena started her own career, first as a dancer, then as a singer. As a Black singer, she faced much racism. Lena performed for white audiences, but was sometimes banned from staying in the same hotels as whites. Lena had the opportunity to work in Hollywood, so she moved from the East Coast to California. However, she couldn't get good parts and refused to take parts that portrayed Blacks as menial. Throughout her life, Lena has supported the civil rights movement by donating time and money to groups that promote equal treatment for people of all races. In her show business career, Lena spent most of her time entertaining in clubs and in concert. In 1981, she won a special Tony Award for her show, Lena Horne, The Lady in Her Music. A quote from Lena Horne: "You have to be taught to be second class. You're not born that way." And this is the page for Miss Lena Horne. Thank you so much for reading with me today. I hope that you enjoyed learning about those 4 different women. And if you're interested, look one of them up to learn more about their background.
Hey Gators, thanks for listening to our first 3 of 6 read alouds for Amelia to Zora. Check back tomorrow for the other half.